Hey guys, camera review for Exorcist Season 1, Episode 3, Let Him In, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I've really been enjoying the show so far, as you guys know, and I was definitely hoping that this episode would be really good. And while there was some really great stuff in this episode, I gotta say, this episode for me was a bit of a step down in quality. Not a bad episode. I think there definitely was some really great stuff in there, and there definitely was some stuff that we found out, like we now know how the possession happened, things like that. But in terms of our two main characters, didn't really have a ton to do here, especially Tomas. Tomas was really shoved to the side in this episode, and I get it that we have to focus on Kat and Casey, but those two characters really didn't have much to do in this episode. But let's just get in this episode because I did enjoy it. It just was my least favorite so far. The beginning of this episode is really bizarre. We start with this flashback, and I was a little bit confused, honestly, but it's 3 months prior. Kat's driving around with her friend, Julia. They're discussing dating preferences when Julia puts her hand on Kat's leg. Julia confesses how sexually attracted she is to Kat. Kat is apparently equally into her friend, so I guess the Kat is, I'm assuming, bisexual, not a lesbian, I don't really know, but Kat takes her eyes off the road. Julia tells her to look at her, then looks up, sees a man on the road, and swerves, hitting a pole. She's badly injured, but Julia is much worse off, dying from the injuries suffered in the crash, and I thought that was a good way to start overall. We really didn't know what was going on there, so I thought just the uncertainty of it all was pretty good. But we see this crazy man preaching outside the hotel where Angela works just as the Papel escorts arrive for their stay. We don't really know what's going on there, but I believe we saw him again last week. We still don't really know what's up with him. I'm going to say right now he's probably associated with the possession, but we see Father Marcus is on the street behind the police tape. He's watching the officers investigate the gruesome mass murderers. Two guys from the neighborhood are guessing at who committed the crimes because obviously there's this, these murders going on and they are trying to figure out who it is. Now, Marcus hears them say the murderers took the eyes of his victim, and Marcus interrupts and asks how they know the eyes are gone. They give him a hard time guessing that he's a scary cop with no friends. He shows his collar, and they tell him what they heard. Obviously, we know he's not a cop, so since they know that, they're able to tell him what's going on. So Henry, who probably is the most to do out of Thomas or Marcus, like he really has a lot to do in this episode. He's at Father Tomas's church asking him whether he really believes in demons, and he wants to know if Angela's right that Casey could be possessed, because again, it just doesn't really sound like it could be true, but he just wants confirmation. And Father Thomas says, if you believe in God, maybe you have to accept that he has an, adversary, and Henry prays every night wondering what would happen if he hadn't been injured when the scaffolding collapsed, and he thinks something's wrong with Casey, and he wants to know what to do. Just then, Father Marcus shows up, and basically he's trying to figure out really what to do there. So we see Casey, and a lot of stuff goes on in Casey's plot in this episode. This episode is very heavy with development for Casey, and that's my one complaint in this episode, that I really do feel that we're kind of rushing stuff with Casey, and it's mainly because I know the next episode we're going to start to see an exorcism already happen. We're only 4 episodes in, so I do think we're rushing stuff a little bit too much, but however, I did like what we got with Casey in this episode. Really creepy stuff overall. She's buying this new dress with Kat for Julia's memorial. Casey tells her sister she has her back, and Kat leaves. So, of course, that creepy stranger who we find out that no one can actually see but Casey, which I thought it was an interesting twist. We thought that this was just some random guy, but no. He seems to be some spirit that only she can see. So, you can't really complain, why doesn't she get away from this guy? She can't get away from him because he's just appearing, and he shows up, and it's obviously that he's working with the demon. We know that for sure. I mean, especially the fact that she can see him. We know he's obviously working with the demon. So he has this really, sexual dress for her to wear. It's, shows a lot of her cleavage, and she says no, mainly because it's $3,600. He turns off the tag, tells her to literally stuff it in the bag, and she does without any hesitation. I'm guessing that's part of her, her possession, everything. That's one of the things that makes her do. But I thought that was interesting to see the way that was done. This guy is manipulating her now. She's shoplifting, and you can really see this is getting bad. So Father Marcus then takes a tour through the Rance's family home. He wants to know if Casey and Kat are friends, and Angela says yes. Marcus asked, and I thought it was weird the way she said they're friends and sisters. That was interesting. So Marcus asked to speak with Casey, obviously because he really wants to know what's going on, if she really is possessed. Then we get this scene that this just didn't really go anywhere for me. We see we're at the hotel. There's this formal dinner taking place for the Papel entourage, and Father Tomas is in attendance. They're all discussing the way the visit will help Chicago, and Maria Walters, the leader of the group of local organizers, at the head of the table and suggests the Pope after his plans and tours the poor neighborhoods, and the Papel representatives decline the offer for the Pope's safety. However, Father Tomas believes his church would benefit from a visit, and the Pope will only be on the south side for 2 hours, and that's where the most devout Catholics actually live. So he's making the case for the Pope's itinerary change. A scream is heard. The group heads to the window. On the street, they see the crazy man has lit himself on fire and is staring up at them as he burns to death. This, to me, felt like a very cheap scare tactic that I don't really like the show doing. It's pretty much what they did with the bird hitting the window. The good thing is they only seem to be doing one of these every episode. They didn't do one last week, but they did do one this week, and I just hope the show doesn't result to it, because it's just cheap. It really is. I mean, the fact that he lit himself on fire, we didn't really get much insight into this man. Why did he do this? Who was he really? I don't know if we'll know. Maybe we'll know at some point, but he killed himself, so it doesn't seem like we're going to know, but he burns to death. That scene, while interesting about the Pope, it just didn't really feel like it fit with the rest of the episode, because most of the episode's focusing on Casey, and a lot of what's going on with Tomas's plot really took away from that in this episode. So Father Tomas and Father Marcus of the church, she wants to finish the visit quickly so her parents don't get freaked out. And we get this very long, drawn-out scene where Tomas asks if she remembers what happened in the attic. She then asks why Father Marcus is there, and Father Tomas asks if she speaks any other languages, asks her to move a pen with her mind, and then Father Marcus interrupts and takes over. He talks about the fact that she's an athlete and her sister's a ballet dancer, then asks if she gardens, and he compares Kat to this beautiful plant that steals all the attention, while Casey's more of a succulent that doesn't need as much attention. That's very much true. I mean, Kat seems to be kind of like the star, you know, she's the one that's getting all the great grades, she's the one just doing all these great things, and Casey's not really. So Casey says she loves her sister, answers yes when he asks if she likes her. Father Marcus calls Kat selfish, telling Casey's cat's accident broke the family in half, and she resents her for it. And I thought this was interesting. We found out that now the cat is this accident, that's like the reason why the family's kind of shit right now, and he hounds her, continually asking if she likes her sister. She finally tells him to just go to hell, and obviously this is not working, so Father Marcus holds up Casey's music box he took from her bedroom, displaying a compact with a broken mirror he found inside. He asks who gave it to her because it looks like an antique, and as he's handing it, the creepy stranger appears behind Casey, telling her not to look at him, but to keep looking at Father Marcus. Father Marcus asks again who gave it to her, saying it doesn't make sense since she's a tomboy, because, you know, she doesn't usually like that stuff. So he asks her if he lied to her and told her she was beautiful and special, and Casey loses her temper, says he doesn't lie. Father Marcus asks if the man who gave her the compact is in the room, and Casey obviously does not give up this guy's cover, obviously, so he asks if he has heard her. The stranger gets up and walks out, so she answers, says that she's under the guise of this possession right now. She's not really herself right now, as you know, she's really under the influence with this possession, so you can't really say that she, can get away from this guy, because she can't, because clearly he's one of the main reasons why this possession is taking over her. So Father Marcus says it will, and a picture falls off the wall. Father Marcus grabs Casey's arm, saying he's speaking to the presence inside of her. The lights flicker, and the candle's flames waver, and he commands the presence respond in the name of God. He asks in Latin what it wants, and when they first make contact, he's trying to make it angry as the compact spins on the desk. Things fall all over the room. I mean, it's crazy. The presence finally answers, saying that it shows her, and this is its plan. So Father Tomas records a session as Casey, speaking in different voices, describes that to the boy all those years ago. So Father Marcus says hello, the demon that was once in the boy and is now in Casey. Of course, the boy being what we saw last week with Father Marcus. So the presence says he's not the same demon, but he appreciates his work. So what I'm thinking is that this demon is carrying over, like the demon is obviously new, that demon, but like it's carrying over because I guess that demon's not allowed anymore. I don't really know, but I think that's really what's going on. So Father Tomas and Father Marcus show the video of their session with Casey to Bishop Egan and Father Bennett requesting an exorcism just so they know what's going on, because again, they don't really believe that's what's going on, but Father Bennett tries to deny it, citing poor audio and video quality. Father Marcus says the demon was speaking Aramic, and they've gone forward with less. The bishop once again says that she needs psychiatric attention, and he breaks the news that Father Marcus has been excommunicated, and it's effective immediately, and he must give up his collar. This, to me, felt very much just like it was there to create drama, that we're just kind of drawing this out. But again, because Father Marcus has such a bad reputation, I did kind of understand this, so Marcus attempts to point out the demon knew about his work in Rome, which means that they're communicating with each other and sharing information, and that's obviously very interesting. So Bishop Egan wants Marcus to leave Chicago. Marcus asks why the church isn't worried about the 9 murderers with missing body parts, because they should be. None of that argument matters. Marcus is no longer a priest, we find out, which is crazy, but already 3 episodes in, he's no longer a priest. So this to me felt very rushed. It just felt like it was kind of there just to give him drama, and I don't really know why this happened, but at the ranch home, Angela's upset the priest didn't reveal more about their session with Casey other than urging them to try and maintain a normal life. I mean, they didn't really get anywhere. Casey just kind of told them stuff they already knew, and so they really wasn't much to tell her. So Casey's in the bathroom getting ready when the creepy stranger makes her burn herself with a curling iron. Such a disturbing scene. I mean, she literally burned herself with a curling iron, and at first she seems like she's in pain. Then it appears she's enjoying it. That was the part that really freaked me out. Not the part she was burning herself, but the fact that she was enjoying it. That is the perfect example of really subtle, creepy horror. I think it was really well done, the way that was handled, and really creepy stuff overall. Stuff like that, they're doing very well. Like, very subtle scares like that, I really do like. So Mark is then drowning his problems in alcohol, and Father Tomas finds him in a pew at the church. Tomas can't even begin to understand what Marcus is going through, and Father Marcus says he can't help the girl now because he's just a man now, and Tomas says the church, not God, abandoned him. Tomas wants to do the exorcism with Marcus's help, and basically feels that it's his purpose. Again, Tomas doesn't, was ready to, he's still kind of questioning if he really does want to be a priest, and he feels like he's meant to do this exorcism. That's the thing that's going to help him, and Marcus says if Tomas really wants to help the girl, he needs to observe her and not interact, because interacting clearly is not going to get them anywhere. She is under the influence of this possession, she's not herself, and they're not going to get any answers. So they need to keenly observe her as possible, and the demon needs to completely show itself so they have unaccessible proof, and Marcus knows the demon will show itself. If Thomas defies the church, he'll be risking his soul, so Tomas refuses to quit, and Marcus warns him that he will die too if he doesn't quit. So I don't know where that's going, if he's telling Tomas to quit the church, but I thought that was interesting overall, the way that was, so definitely that was interesting to see. But then we get to the really big stuff. We see Casey. She shows up in this really, I'm not going to lie, she actually did look quite hot in this scene, this very low-cut dress, and Kat, even though I know that she was under possession, she still did look very hot, and Kat attends Julia's memorial backstage to the dance company. Casey hangs back as Kat is hugged by friends and then leaves a personal memento on Julia's memorial display. The dancers discuss Julia as a person and as a dancer, pouring out a bit of whiskey in her memory before passing the bottle around. Casey then grabs a bottle and takes a swig. All the dancers are whispering about what she's wearing, obviously because it's it shows a lot of cleavage, and it's just very revealing, and Casey stares at Julia's picture. Kat tries to get her to go join their mom and dad in the audience, but she won't leave. She starts making a scene saying the Kat and Julia were in love, and it's clearly, again, the possession that's talking here. So the dancers take the stage. They dedicate the performance to Julia and Kat, telling Kat that they're there for her when she's ready to return. So the audience applauds, the dance begins, and Kat, now seeing the audience with her family, begins crying. The stranger's hand slips over Casey's shoulder, caresses her skin, and that scene was so creepy, just knowing what he's really trying to do. So Mrs. Walters meets her father Tomas, and after a little small talk, Miss Walters hands him a $100,000 check for his parish, and she knows it's a bad time for their city. She tells him to do something good with the money, and back in the memorial, Casey is sweating. She races from her seat. Henry follows her out, and Marcus visits the Rance family, the Rance home, as he knocks on the door. A car pulls up with Father Ben in the back seat. Marcus joins him in the car. They talk about the 9 victims missing their hearts, eyes, genitals, just you name it, they lost it. And it's the materials needed, we find out, to summon 4 demons. Now, this I found very interesting here. The ending of this episode, I'm going to tell you guys, while this episode was very slow, the ending really did make up for it. I thought the ending of this episode was really well done, and finding this out really does make it even more interesting. So basically, Father Bennett whispers that he saw a Christian zealot light himself on fire without any accelerates, and Marcus wants to know if the church has been compromised, and Father Bennett doesn't know, but he has been trying to figure that out, and Father Bennett hands him bus tickets to Tallahassee, Florida, and on the back of the ticket is a list of names of people who are still Marcus's friends, basically telling him that he does still have people on his side, and that Florida is the place for him to go. I don't know if this is saying that Marcus is going to find people in Florida to help him, but we'll have to see where this goes next week, because I don't really know, but then we get to the ending, which the ending of this episode is truly insane. Really, this was crazy. Henry and Casey are on an L train heading home. Henry is very suspicious of Casey at this point. He knows something's going on with her, and he's very much watching her as much as he can because he very much knows something's going on there. So Casey has really nasty boils on her arm. Henry passes out while trying to talk to her about why she left the memorial service. The train stops to pick up passengers, and a bunch of drunk guys board. One hits on Casey, pulls her back when she turns away. He tells her she obviously wants attention wearing a dress like that, and Henry's still passed out when the man gets rough with her. No one comes to her, but then she sees a stranger walking toward her, relaxes. The drunk guy still has his arm around her. The stranger kisses her, she's into it. Everyone else in the car fades away while they kiss, and of course, no one sees this kiss other than Casey, which again, obviously very, very creepy. The lights go off. The drunk and his friends are now being attacked without anyone actually physically appearing to lay a hand on them. And at the end of the fight, Casey throws a drunk in his floor. She gets on him. She starts ripping his skin to shreds on his chest. I have no idea how Fox got away with this, but it was really graphic. And she breaks his jaw. The lights come back on. His blood is on her arms and face. She stands in the center of the train. The rest of the passengers have obviously backed away from her. They're completely freaked out. They have no idea what's going on with her. And she pisses on the floor, just like, of course, in the iconic film. We see Henry's watching. He's now come to. He knows what's going on. And that is the way the episode ends. Really great stuff overall, but let's just get in this episode because I definitely do have a lot to say about it. So overall, a bit of a slow episode, honestly. I mean, yes, the ending was really good. In general, though, this episode in general just was kind of boring. I felt like there wasn't a ton that happened. With Casey, definitely there was. There was a lot of plot progression there. You know, we now know, what she's able to do and what this guy's doing to her, things like that. We know what's going on with Kat and Casey. We know what the guy's plan is overall. But in terms of Father Marcus and Father Tomas, they just didn't have a ton going on. And what they did with Father Marcus in this episode, to me, just felt very much like they didn't really know what to do with him, so they just gave him something random. The whole thing with him not being able to be at the church anymore, I don't really know how I feel about that. I didn't think it was that interesting, but we'll have to see where that goes, because I honestly don't know where that's going. As far as Casey, though, this is definitely getting interesting, because now Henry knows what's going on. He knows that Angela isn't crazy, and he also knows that that there could actually be a possession there, which we know there is in fact a possession, so I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to go, because I think that's going to be very interesting overall. I do think we're moving a little bit too fast with Casey stuff, definitely, because like I said, next week it does seem like they're going to try to perform the exorcism. I don't know if they're going to be successful. I doubt they're going to be, because again, it's only episode 4, but we'll have to see the way that that's going to go. I really do like this idea, though, of these murderers not just being murderers, but they're actually being the things that help the possession. I think overall that's very interesting. We found this out, basically, that they're the things that can summon forth demons, and I don't really know how exactly they do that, but I'm assuming that old guy that offed himself was part of it. That's what I'm thinking, at least. I don't really know, but we'll have to see. And I think the guy that Casey is seeing is kind of the head of the snake. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, at least. A lot of people have said that actually is the devil, and the way this is going, yeah, I kind of see it. I mean, they always say devil in the red dress. Well, Casey wasn't in a red dress, but she was in a dress. He's clearly, doing all this devilish stuff, and I very much could see him be the devil, so we'll have to see what that's going to do, because I think that's going to be interesting. As far as Marcus and Florida, what is he going to do? Is he going to get these people help with the exorcism? We'll have to see where that's going to go. I think that's going to be very interesting overall as to, where that's all going. And then the church in general. I don't know why Father Bennett doesn't really believe them. I mean, the evidence is there. They know what's going on. I don't know why he thinks that Father Marcus is crazy. I mean, Father Tomas saw her too. She definitely is possessed, and I don't know why, Brother Bennett's not believing them, but we'll have to see where that's going. The whole thing going on with the priest, I don't really care, honestly. I don't really care what's going on there. I mean, it's okay, but just out of everything that's going on, that was the thing I was least interested in. I just didn't really care what was going on with that as much. I mean, I get, obviously, they want to protect the Pope as to what's going on there, but it just felt like we didn't really need that. Out of everything that's going on, I just didn't really care as much about what was going on there, because I thought everything going on with Casey was overall very interesting and what's going on there. And I do like the way that this man is kind of creating a rift between Casey and Kat overall. I think that's overall going to be very interesting to see where that's going to go. Either way, guys, a bit of a slower episode, not as much to say, but let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I am still enjoying the show. I obviously am still going to watch. This episode in general is just a little bit slow. I think next week's episode is going to be a lot better, but I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Luke Cage, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.